Good with that? Okay. Alright, like I said, my name is Justin Miller. I'm from Wheeling, West Virginia. Come from a family that's broken. My dad was a big-time drug dealer, major alcoholic, very abusive. So I remember my mom left him when I was a year old, but I can remember times, when a knock on the door would happen, and I could still remember my mom and my aunt gasping for air because they wasn't sure if it was going to be my dad or my uncle there beating on the door to take me back or take my cousins. So this when the trauma started was at a very young age. Remembering the fighting and hearing the screaming and seeing the fear in my mom and my aunt's eyes all the time. It took my mom remarrying. We then moved down to Charleston, so I didn't get to see my dad very often. When I did, it was just for like a couple of weeks over the summer. And he ended up going to prison for being involved with drugs and arson. So he went to prison in '89. So I was just turning 5, right when a kid really needs his dad. Did 4.5 years. So from kindergarten until 4th grade, I didn't have him in my life. Talked to him on the phone every once in a while, but that was it. So he comes out, and at that age, was willing to do anything to get his dad's approval. Right at that time, my best friend, he accidentally shot himself the night that I was supposed to stay at his house. And when we were going through therapy, I was talking about how I was supposed to spend the night, and didn't because he also invited a kid over that I didn't like. So one of the kids, while I was talking to him, the kid said, so it's your fault. If you had went to his house, this wouldn't have happened. You could have stopped this. Well, being in 4th grade, that's all I remember. So I blamed myself for years. I wouldn't know at that point. My dad got me into drugs and alcohol at 11. So from 11 on, I was drinking on a regular basis. I was smoking weed with him on a regular basis. 13, he starts laying me out lots of cocaine. And then he says, hey son, I need you to take this package, go down the road with it. Just remember, if you get caught doing this, you're just going to get smacked on the hands. If I get caught doing this, I'm going back to prison for a long time. He goes, you know how hard it was for you, with me being gone for 4.5 years. Now, imagine your sister, the rest of her life, not having a dad. Do you want that? So he put that guilt on me, and therefore I felt like I had to do what he needed to do. And so he used to lay me out lots of cocaine, and he'd hand me a book bag, and he would just tell me where to go. And I'd ride, and I'd meet this person that I didn't know, and I'd hand him a book bag, they'd hand me a book bag, and I'd come back home. And looking back at it, I see the age of my kids and the age that I was doing this stuff, and it just blows my mind. But through this journey, I've learned, trauma is just repeated. He was just doing what he knew how. But anyway, so that's all he did with me was drinking and doing drugs. And when I told him I was done dealing, I was like, I'm getting out of this. We got into a fight, an altercation. I had him pinned down. He was telling me to punch him, and I was like, you're my dad. I'm not going to hit you. So he threw me off of him. He's like, you're an idiot. He goes, if I could do it all over again, I would join the military and get the hell out of this town. I said, man, that's the smartest thing you've ever said to me, Dad. So, end up joining in April of 03. 9/11 happened August my senior year. And end up joining infantry, went to basic, chose to go to Korea. So did 11 months in Korea and then went straight to Iraq for 12 months. I went as a 240 gunner. And when we first got there, it was August of 04, still towards the beginning. We have what's called the Mad Minute. So an IED would go off and you were to go cyclic. Every gun, every machine gun was cyclic for a whole minute. Anything and everything that moved, you was just spraying that. We didn't go check on anything. We didn't check on the cars that we would just litter with holes. We didn't check on any of the houses that we would half level. We would just leave everything laying the way it was. So here I am, 20 years old, doing this stuff, and then having to figure out how to go to sleep afterwards, knowing that you've just left people laying all over the place. And that was standard. That was our operating procedure. We looked for anything to kind of have that connection of what normal and innocent would be. And I remember this little boy and girl, every time we'd draw the wire, they'd run to the road and they'd blow us kisses and they'd give us the I love you sign. And we started giving them candy, started giving them water. And one day we were going on foot patrol. We're about 4 hours into it. We're walking down the road from their house. They grabbed our hands and they started swinging them. As soon as we hit the alleyway, they tried to pull us down the alley, being irritated, tired, yank our hands away and keep on walking. Well, then we get in front of their house and they grab us with both hands and they yank us in and pull us. They let us know that there's an IED just like right up the road. We were getting ready to walk over a 3155 range. There's about 70 meters ahead of us. And these two little kids, completely innocent, didn't think about what was going to happen to them or their family. All they knew was that they were going to save our lives. After that point, we spoiled these kids. We gave them anything and everything they wanted. And Veterans Day happened, and a VBID went off, and we were in sector. And they called for mass casualty. They needed all medics in sector. And we come pulling down and we're told that there is a casualty laying in the median that they needed security for so the medic could actually work on it. And my truck there, lead truck, did a button hook and we parked right beside Sergeant Huey. And Sergeant Huey was a staff sergeant who took a piece of shrapnel and went in through his groin, clipped his femorals, and that was the first time I actually seen somebody go through the stages of life. And there's just so much blood, I remember I couldn't look away. I was laying in sand, and I'm watching this blood puddle grow. And I just couldn't look away. And as they were loading him up, I remember he grabbed the medic and he told the medic to tell his wife and kids that he loved them. And the medic's like, no, you're in the best hands there are. You'll be able to tell them yourself, you're fine. And they loaded him up. And as they was loading him up, I was given a sector from the alley at the 9 to the alley at the 1. And as soon as I looked away from him, I looked at the alley at the 9, and there's the little boy laying there in the alley dead. His shrapnel hit him in the head, killed him instantly. And then I saw a blood trail going from him in front of the Humvee that was hit by the VBID, and just following the blood trail. I saw the little girl crawling out from underneath the other side of the Humvee. She was reaching for me, crying. Piece of shrapnel hit her in the stomach, and called for help. And I was told not to worry about them. That we had enough of our own casualties to just leave them be. Not to let anybody come in, let them all die right where they're laying. They could clean up after we cleared the area. Well, I couldn't look at her anymore because I felt so guilty. She had saved my life, and yet here I had to just leave her lay. So I looked over to the right, and there's a guy carrying his child, about 12, 14 years old, and he's holding his insides on top of him, coming to me for help. Once again, I call for help. And I get told to stop that guy, don't let him near us. Because 1, there could be an IED inside that kid, and 2, that man could be wearing a suicide vest. Tell him to stop. If he doesn't stop, shoot a warning shot. If he doesn't stop, kill him. So I remember I was yelling for him, screaming for him to stop, begging for him to stop. He wouldn't stop, so I had to shoot a warning shot. And as soon as I shot that warning shot, I just watched this man's life just go away. watched them fall, start beating themselves, throwing dirt on themselves, yelling out for Allah, and I'm sitting there watching this at 20 years old, and can't show emotion over there. You gotta just suck it up and deal with it. And so then, at that point, they would just give us drugs. They'd give us painkillers. They'd give us muscle relaxers. Anything we wanted, just to take the edge off and let us crash. That's what we do. And at that point, I just had no feelings. I quit caring. I just accepted the fact that I was a dead man walking. We were getting hit by IEDs left and right. My first week out of the mission, I watched a guy get vaporized and then had to go pick up pieces. So that was on the 16th, or 11th of November. The 16th of November, I get hit by an IED and then left in the house by myself, where I literally had to fight people, breaking ribs and sterns just to keep them away from me. This was just a few months after the journalist was beheaded live on TV, which was our leadership's way of training us to be prepared to go to war. They'd make us watch that video over and over, and they'd be like, all right, you see these? This is the type of people we're fighting, so don't feel sympathy or don't feel anything at all when you kill these people because they're trash and they need to die. So that's how we felt. And so anyways, I'm in this house, I'm out, I realize I'm by myself, and immediately I'm like, holy shit, next time my family sees me, I'm going to be sitting in front of a camera, getting my head cut off. Thank God I was able to fight on the way, managed to catch back up, but then all the leadership turned on me, because I threatened an E7 as an E3. It didn't go over well, but not only did they turn on me, but they also told the rest of the company that I chose to leave because I thought I was better and I wanted to be elsewhere. So I lost the whole company. There's only a couple people in the company that still talk to me. Everybody else just completely cut ties. The leadership told me I wasn't welcome to come back to visit. They told me I was cancer. So I now went from going on missions with 4 vehicles, 4 guns, 4 guys per truck to me and 3 other guys. And my very first mission was a sniper mission where we had to go dig our sniper hides on top of this hill in a graveyard. And as I'm digging my sniper hide, I dig up a guy. And I get told, I just moved to the left a couple inches, covered him back up. And I had to lay there for 3 days. That was my introduction to being on the scout sniper team. Anyways, the rest of that mission, the rest of that tour was just crazy. We were in the Sunni Triangle. We had the second-rate Fallujah during that one. Chris Kyle and SEAL Team 3, they attached to us. We did missions with them for a month. So we weren't just like a normal unit. We actually had like high targets that we was going after. Worked a lot with special forces and SEAL teams. So we did a lot of stuff that was just not what I was expecting as an infantryman. I was a 240 gunner. I wasn't expecting to be doing all this crazy stuff in the middle of the night by myself. Anyways, I get back from that deployment. I flip out on a major during SRP because he tells me he's a therapist. And after telling him the stuff I went through, he said, oh yeah, I completely understand. I know exactly how you feel. And I looked at his sleeve and saw that it was slit and he had been deployed, and I just lost my shit. I went off on him. What you would have thought at this point, leadership would have seen an E4 flip out on a major, that they would have saw something and figured there was something wrong. Nobody said anything, they just let it go. About a week later, I get a call saying, hey, you need to go to this appointment for PTSD. I'm like, PTSD? What the heck is that? I didn't know what this stuff was. So, I go and tell the leadership, like, hey, I got this appointment. They say I got this PTSD stuff or whatever. And they said, well, what do you want to do with your career? I said, well, I love the Army. I love what I do. There's nothing else I'd rather do. They said, all right, well, don't go to that appointment. If you do, your career's over with. I said, okay, well, how do I deal with this stuff? I said, I can't sleep. The nightmares are unreal. I can't go out in public without feeling like I'm always ready to be attacked. I'm like, this is just, I can't do this. And when I went home on R&R, I knew there was something different, because everybody that I used to hang out with, that was best friends with me, and I was there, we didn't have any type of relationship at all anymore, because everything that they related to was nothing to me, because they were complaining about not having gas money, or parents not giving them money to go out to eat, when here I've already buried 18 friends, at 21 years old. I actually re-enlisted to try to stay in Iraq for another year, because that's where I felt most comfortable. So they tell me to drink. I said, don't go to those appointments, just grab beer and drink at night until you get tired and you go to sleep. Well, before I knew it, I was drinking a case, sometimes a bottle and a case. Drinking to me became almost like a game. If there was still alcohol there, I was still drinking, and I wasn't done until it was out. We would just tighten up formation when I'd show up drunk. Nobody cared. Everybody just let it be. They're like, oh, they'll figure it out. We'll work through it. As long as they ain't killing nobody, we don't care. So, ended up deploying again the second time. Right at where that I felt the most relief of my life. Found out that my wife was pregnant. Found out I was having a boy 2 days before I left. So when I left, I was like, well, my name's carried on. I could care less at this point. I had a son. Came back March 14th. He was born the 16th. I was back overseas April 1st to find out that my best friend was killed on the 29th. Took away everything that I just had. Forgot all about my whole leave it all. And then on the 4th, we lost a 19 and 20-year-old that got hit by an IED. He was trapped in a Humvee, and they could hear him inside as it was burning, and we could hear it over the radio during the change of command. So, both tours were just absolutely nasty. We were in Baghdad for the second tour. We got extended for 15 months. So I come back home December 29th, missed almost the whole first year of my son. And when I came home, I'm sitting there, I have this in my head, I'm like, man, I couldn't even save the report and wrote my first tour, lost all these people, these other tours. I'm like, I'm so jacked up, I know that if I stay around, I'm going to destroy my wife and my kids' life. I knew I was toxic. I knew that this was just going to be handed down to them, because I didn't know how to fix it, and nobody knew how to fix it. They all just told me to drink and here, take more drugs, and you'll eventually get over it. So they take me and they send me to recruiting, telling me to go ahead and relax for 3 years. I didn't see my kids for weeks at a time, and basically wanted to die the whole time I was there, just because I just couldn't understand what was going on. I couldn't understand why the nightmares wouldn't stop. I couldn't understand why I wanted to fight everybody, why I was always on edge, why everybody didn't barely touch me. I would jump out of my chair and ready to go to war. It just didn't make any sense to me. Nobody could help me. They just kept throwing more pills at me. My civilian doctor, she's like, oh, you're in pain, you went to war. Here's Percocet, and here's some muscle relaxers. Just call me when you're done. So she gave me 120 of them. 10 days later, hey, I'm out. I just gave you a month of them. Yeah, but you said take them as needed. I'm done. So she just refilled them. So I was just numb for 3 years, basically. Turned down meritorious promotion E7 so I could go to Afghanistan, because I was so suicidal. I wanted to die, but I wanted to be recognized as a hero instead of a statistic. I didn't want my family to grow up the rest of their lives and, my dad took his life. I'd much rather my son say, my dad went to war and died. So I turned down the meritorious promotion to go to Fort Stewart so I could go to war. Trained for a year, ruptured a disc in my back a month before deployment, and get yanked from me. That ended up leading to me having to take a really deep look into myself. I did 35 days inpatient to try to get things understand. And how you get back, like, well, whatever. You got the MEB, and I was like, I'll fight this. And I had to take a really deep look at myself. That, these guys deserve everything they need. Can I really train them and give them everything? Can I give them 100% and do all I can to make sure they can come back? As hard as it was, I knew that I couldn't, and I knew that they deserved better. So I went ahead and just went with the MEB. And I thought I was good once I got out. I was like, heck, that was the hard part. Now I got the easy part. I can do anything I want now, and nobody telling me nothing. Except for, I didn't realize how much I needed all my brothers and sisters to my right and left. You guys, when you're coming into work, you can tell when somebody had a bad night. You just say, what's going on with you? And they say, oh, I had a rough night. Okay, I didn't sit there. So then you actually have time to sit there and discuss it during the day. And you can kind of work through things, and people can relate, and just having people around you that understand is comforting. You've got to come out in the civilian world, and the people that I do have around me, I tell them my stories, and they look at me like I'm crazy. They look at me like I'm making things up. And that just, it demoralizes you. You're being told that you're a liar. You're being told you're making things up, that you're crazy, that there's no way this all could have happened to you, that you don't deserve what you're getting because you look normal. So I just shut down. I did what the military told me: drink water, drive on, suck it up, figure it out. And that only worked for a couple months. I got out. Retirement day was in August. Before Thanksgiving, I was dead. I was numb. I was suicidal. I just didn't want to be there. And I started losing sleep because the VA took me off of medication without weaning me off. And about 10 days in, I was trying to get a couple hours of sleep a night. I had the nightmare where I got left behind, except for when I turned the corner instead of a single gunshot hitting the wall by my head. I got hit. I thought I woke up. I felt like I was awake in my room, except for when I started blinking my eyes to get my eyes to clear up. When it became clear, I was now bound to a chair sitting in front of a camera. My absolute worst nightmare was coming true, and I couldn't wake up. When I woke up was when it was over, and I woke up, ran to the bathroom, was throwing up, and couldn't breathe, was hyperventilating. And I came just sat on the edge of the bed, and I was just like, screw this, I'm done. I had my pistol out in that stand drawer, and I was sitting there, I'm like, all right. First thing went through my head is like, I'm not pulling this trigger twice. So I slid around there, slid back, and I'm like, all right, it's not even around in the chamber. I'm like, well, next thought, if I rack around in this chamber, it's going to wake my wife up. She's going to ask questions. I'm going to have to talk. And I wasn't ready for it, so I threw my pistol back in the drawer. The whole thought of the fact that I was just about to destroy her life and my kid's life, if there was a round in that chamber, didn't even cross my mind. Anyway, so I go on the couch and I try to just do it. I was told to figure it out, suck it up. But every time this nightmare would reoccur, I would just start hyperventilating and would just start sobbing. This is just so real. I could feel it, everything. Well, I called the VA after about the 5th time. I'm like, hey, I killed myself this morning. And I said, another night like last night, I said, I promise you with everything I got, I'm done. I'm killing myself. No questions asked. She puts me on hold. Comes back. She's like, all right, we got your appointment scheduled for 2 days, Friday. I'm like, you're going to be kidding me. I just told you I couldn't handle 1 day. So you gave me 2 days. It's all bullshit. I was like, thanks a lot. And I just hung up. Nobody called back. Nobody checked on me. Nothing at all. I didn't even go to the appointment. But after I hung up, like 30 seconds later, I get a text message from Chris saying, hey, I got this project going on in Georgetown. Wanted to know if you'd be interested. If so, give me a call. Well, being a leader, I figured I'd at least owe them that. So I went ahead and gave him a call. Come to find out that was his way of breaking the ice and just getting me on the phone. He could see on social media that I was in a spiral. He could tell just by the things I was posting, the lack of posts, the lack of enthusiasm. He knew what type of leader I was. He knew the person I was, and he said, well, what he saw wasn't me. So he initiated that conversation. We spoke for 6 hours on the phone. And I told him, I was like, I just don't know. I have no clue. I don't know what's going on. I'm falling apart. I'm just a mess. I'm a wreck. I don't know what to do. I said, I just feel like I'm broken. I feel like I failed. I feel miserable. I feel like I let everybody down. He says, well, why'd you join? I said, well, to serve my country, protect the ones I love. He says, okay, well, when you was in, he said, the government paid you, right? I said, yeah. He said, all right, now that you're out, he says, the VA's paying you, right? I said, yeah, okay. He said, okay, we'll think of it as now as the VA's paying you to take care of your brothers and your sisters. He says, you got a story. He says, your story's going to change lives. It's going to save lives. I was so deep and dark, I don't got a story. Right? My story to claim the fame is I was on missions with Chris Kyle. That's my story. He said, no, you got more of a story than that, and it's going to save lives. So I just blew him off. I just thought he was trying to inspire me enough to keep on going. My mother-in-law kept trying to get me to go to church, and she kept telling her I wasn't wasting my time because there was nothing there. And she kept bothering me, so finally, she's like, one time. I said, all right, fine, I'll come one time. If you show them, leave me alone about it. She's like, all right, one time. So I go to church, and I was brought up in the church. I always believed in God. But when I came back after losing 18 friends my first time, 18 friends my second time, being blown up multiple times, putting more people in body bags than I ever thought I would see in my lifetime, so angry at him. I hated him. I felt that he abandoned me. I felt that he just let me go. So I'm in church and I see all these people that are all happy and cheerful and smiling, and I'm just getting mad. Don't even want to be anywhere near them, so I just get up and I go stand in the back. And I just start going off on God. I'm like, how dare you? If you really existed, none of this stuff would be happening. You wouldn't have let me go over there to see all this stuff. You wouldn't have let us go through this. You wouldn't let people be tortured, killed, and murdered like that. You wouldn't have let my brothers die. You'd have let me die and let them come home. So, if you're really up there, I said, you just kill me right now and end the suffering. So here I am, I'm still here. And it was like, I'm talking to you right now. I heard over my shoulder, quit feeling sorry for yourself. Look at everything that I pulled you through. So what good is it to have an answer to a secret if you keep it a secret? Share your struggles and hardships with others to give them strength and hope to pull forward. And that's when I realized that that's our stories, that it's our job to come together, that we're the only ones that's going to be able to make this difference. Us as leaders, we teach our younger ones by how we learn, by the way we failed, the way we were taught and passed along. But how come that doesn't happen when it comes to dealing with trauma? Nobody wants to talk about the fact that they've been through trauma. They just want to let it go and just kind of ignore the fact. And they don't want to talk and admit it to their younger guys. But that's what we need to do. That's the only way we're going to solve this problem. Is by us coming together, us sharing our stories and struggles, and standing up. So I wrote a story, and that led to a guy giving us Objective Zero. Originally it was like Yelp for veterans, where you could find a place to go get help. You could find your VAs, you could rate your VAs, and it's basically our way of trying to bash the VA because I was so angry at the time. But during the process of researching that, we realized that when most veterans decide to take their life with suicide, that they do it within their first 5 minutes. It's like, we don't have time to have somebody get on an app, try to find a place, call, be put on hold, send a voicemail, disconnected. Like, we don't have that. We need something they just need to be able to open an app and hit a button and connect to somebody. Like, there's got to be a way we can do this. So Chris had a friend in Georgetown who built an app that was like Uber, that he built to stop his guys from getting DUIs. All the officers had the app, and anybody in the battalion could get on there, and the officers would go and pick them up to prevent DUIs. He's like, man, I can build this. This is like Facebook, Uber, combine them. I can make this happen. So it comes with the Objective Zero app. It came out in December of 2017. You can find it in the Apple Store or Android. It's free to download, free to use as much as you want. We said that we would never charge anybody to basically save their life. So you can open up the app, you can hit talk, text, or video chat and connect with somebody immediately. Or you can go through, if you want to find someone that meets your needs, you can filter it out. I'll talk to somebody in the Air Force, the Army, who went to Iraq or Afghanistan, who's this age, this far away. You can customize it exactly how you want. We wanted the user, the people that was looking for help, we wanted them to have all the power. They shouldn't, somebody who is dealing with military sexual trauma, they call, get hold of the same sex that assaulted them, they're not going to open up, they're going to shut down. So we wanted it so they could customize it to make it so that they're getting hold of somebody that they feel like they'd be comfortable with actually talking to. We've done surveys where there's a lot of veterans that actually feel more comfortable talking to family members, to parents of veterans, to spouses, because they felt like there was less judgment. They felt like they could talk to them more freely and not have them sit there and question them or compare deployments or whatever. So the app's been out now. Christmas will be 3 years. It's been used every single day since. Last year alone, over 10,700 people used it. So the tool's out there, but it's up to us to get it out, to spread the word. So I'm here. I've got 3 things that I need from all of you. One, I'm asking for your help. Download the app, go through our training. We have 3 levels of training in suicide prevention and mental health. We're partnered with Psych Armor. We're currently in the process of kind of building our own university with mental health within the app that you can kind of gradually go through to keep yourself tuned. So we need your help with training. You're becoming an ambassador, being willing to answer the phones to help us out. Second, tell everybody you know that's in the service. The app is for all of the military community, including your family members. We can go get help all we want, but if you get sent right back to a broken home, because your family, your kids, your wives, your stuff, all of that, they all suffer from all the stuff that we're dealing with. So we wanted to get everybody involved so everybody can get help. It's like a one-stop shop. You can go on there and get resource tabs where different programs you can go get help. Even a tab that has, different inspirations, motivations, yoga, even online colleges that are free. So the second way we need to do is just tell everybody you know. And the third way is helping with funding. So the app is free for everybody. This year, expectation was going to be roughly 30 to 35,000 just to cover the back end cost of all the text and everything. And then the pull out happened. And since the pull out happened, our numbers have just gone through the roof. Some days are 200 times more than last year. So it's hard to tell what our funding will end up being this year. So, like I said, I need your guys' help. You girls, everybody here is, if we want to see a difference, it's going to come down to us. So, Appreciate you all coming today. Some of you have listened to me multiple times. And thank you very much.
Check. So, some of you might know this already, a lot of you may not. I've had the distinct pleasure of hanging out with this man for the last couple days. It has been an awesome experience. He's told me so much more. I feel like I'm very privileged because I've got to experience so much more than the talk that you just heard, which was, I think we can all agree, an incredibly powerful, moving experience. But I feel honored, Justin, that I've had the pleasure to be with you, listen to you, learn from you, bond with you for these past couple of days. And I thank you for that. And I thank you for coming to this wing to just share with us, just share your story, and share the love that we all share for wanting to keep each other well. So at this point in the presentation, Mr. Miller has asked if anybody has any questions, any comments, anything that they'd like to share at this point, please feel free. He's more than willing to answer any of your questions.
Well, Mr. Miller, thank you for sharing your story with us. I would just like to ask you, what specifically did you learn about yourself that turned you back from the path you were going down?
One of the biggest things that I learned was simply that I was enough. All my life I was trying to get my dad's approval. I was willing to do anything, to include going to war twice, just to hear my dad say I'm proud of you and that he loved me. And even after going to war twice, I still never heard that. So I always felt like I was never doing enough. I felt like I was failing. I went to save a warrior, and that was when I learned about ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences, and this was when I realized that PTSD was going to control me until I decided to control it. And so I just learned that it's on me. If somebody wants to see a difference, that I'm the only one who can do anything about it. And I just realized that I was enough and I deserved it. I deserved everything. I deserved putting the time in to go to anything that was out there. And then if this program didn't work, to take the time to go to another program because I deserved it. We earned it. Every one of us, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. This is the smallest portion of our lives. Think about all of us look up to the Vietnam guys. We love hearing their stories. That's us. We're the stories for the next generation. So we owe it to them. We owe it to our nation to get ourselves fixed. Do what we got to do to stick together.
Anybody else? Anybody have anything they'd like to ask, like to share?
You mentioned you had a son.
Yeah.
And, he's probably in his mid-teens by now.
14.
If he wanted to go into service, would you encourage him?
I would fully support it. Absolutely. If I didn't go to the military, I'd be dead or in prison. So as much trauma as I went through, it saved my life. It gave me the discipline. It gave me the confidence. And it just gives you a completely different look at yourself. When you go into the civilian community and you see what other workers are and they're considered stellar, and you're like, oh man, I'll just smoke the crap out of this guy. And he's considered top class. Holy cow. You realize the level that you are. even as a turd private, you're still going to outshine those people. And that was, you know, I award all that to the military. It's what if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have anything that I have now, including my house, my education, you know, my family. I owe it all, every bit of it, and not even to the military, to my brothers and my sisters that kept me alive and kept me on that straight and narrow. So, yeah, absolutely.
So I suspect it's leaning toward going in. Having a dad like yourself.
I don't know. He's got a friend who's talking about joining the Army, and he kind of is not really showing interest. I'm not pushing it, but I also told him that my rule is that I told him, I said, if you ever tell me you want to serve, I said, I'm going to take you to every single recruiter, and you're going to hear what every single one of them has to offer, and then you're going to come back home. Then you're going to tell me where you want to go and why, so you make an educated decision. That was the only thing I've ever told both of my kids. My daughter's 12 and my son's 14, and I told my wife that I fully supported both of them joining if they wanted to, that I would never turn them away from it, because, you know, this is an honor and privilege to be able to put on this uniform, and it was some of the greatest years of my life, some of the best people I've ever met that wore an uniform, so I share those stories with them all the time.
Justin, just make sure to bring them by the Air Guard recruiters. It's New York Air National Guard recruiters.
Definitely save his body.
If there's no more questions, Justin, we got a little something for you. With Lieutenant Colonel Sweeney being our ranking individual here in the room right now. I'd like to have him come forward, please.
Hey, thanks, Alan. You know, I think you said it best with the thanks that you've given Justin, and I'd just like to add that your story, you clearly bear an incredible cross, and the fact that you had the courage to share that with us today, I can speak for myself that you've made me a better person, and you've given me just an additional tool to be able to help myself if I ever need to, help my family, and then help our airmen when they need it. And you provide that to me, and I really do. I know in my heart that you've done that for all of us here too today, so thank you very much. On behalf of General Donald and all the airmen of our wing, I just want to present with you just a certificate of appreciation for all you've done. So thank you for coming.
Ooh, that's nice. Thank you, Colonel Sweeney. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, as well today. I really appreciate you guys being here. Remember, September is Suicide Awareness Month, okay? Keep it down now. No, in all seriousness, we want to keep the vibe of this month going. We want to keep the connectedness and the togetherness going as much as we can this month. And this was the greatest way I could ever think of to begin our journey into Suicide Prevention Month. So thank you again, Justin. Thank you all folks for coming today, and please take care of each other.